What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Prayin and Slayin podcast. My name's Aaron, your host, and today I am joined by a buddy of mine who I've known for several years to the outdoors industry. Got a chance to meet just a couple years ago at a Texas Trophy Hunters Association event. Ben Slocum. He's an awesome dude. He currently resides in Texas native, brought to Oregon, and I'm actually going to be doing something a little different here. I'm going to be giving his first part of the podcast in this introduction because we had some technical difficulties. Long story short, the recording was pretty much unusable, but I always keep a handy-dandy notebook. Lesson learned from Blues Coos. Hashtag just tell me you grew up in an in-home daycare without telling me you grew up in an in-home daycare. I always carry a notebook with me on every one of these podcast episodes so I can write down notes, and thank God I did on this one because I have a whole history that we didn't get to hear. So some of this podcast might not make sense if we just jumped in, so I wanted to give you a brief overview of the background of Ben. I always get started with the background on every one of these podcasts of the guest. I like to get to know people, just like we were sitting in hunting camp with them, right? And this is the first time him and I had a chance to meet, so we can all learn a little bit more that we're all part of one big giant human community, and we're all connected through hunting. So a little background on Ben before we jump into the conversation where it picks up. Basically, Ben got into hunting through his dad. His dad grew up, he was a man of the land in Belton, Texas. And they grew up squirrel hunting, basically eating what they could put on the table. So through some small game hunting, that's kind of how Ben got into it. And then he was born in Lubbock, Texas. Moved down to Belton. We were stationed at Fort Hood. So basically between Belton and Killeen is where we lived. So pretty cool that he grew up hunting and swinging around the same area that I got a chance to hunt for 13 months and hang out at Fort Hood and meet some cool people there. So before moving to Oregon for 12 years. So he took a hiatus and said, I'm out of Texas. I'm going to the West Coast, and hung out in Oregon for a while. Loved it up there. It's actually where he met the love of his life, who is his wife. They had all of their kids up there. And then work actually brought him back down to Texas. They kind of felt the calling to go home, or for him to go home. And moved back to just outside of Austin in Hutto, Texas. Fun fact about that, that's where my little brother lives. If you haven't heard, there's a Little Brothers and Big Games First, Part 1, Part 2 podcast from like 2 years ago. Go listen to that one. It's a really, really cool story where I get my brother on his first big game hunt, first big game hunt where he got something. We took him on a pronghorn hunt down to Wyoming. And just a really, really fun time to get to connect with my brother and tell some hunting stories, which isn't very common for us living across the country from each other all the time. So go listen to that episode. But cool fact that Ben actually he lived in Hutto, which is where my brother lives. The only mascot in the United States, fun fact, by the way, the only mascot in the United States that's a hippo for the Hutto Hippos. So there you go. You learned something today. If we ever do Prayin and Slayin trivia, that will absolutely be a question. But anyway, went down to Austin for work, and then they eventually decided to save up some funds, do some little research, and they found their very own homestead. So the Slocum farmstead is where they live now, and that is where the story picks up, is him talking about his property, them upgrading the land to what it is today and making it, a wild game and a farmstead paradise for themselves. So let's jump in with Benjamin Slocum from Texas and pick up where we left off from that introduction.
We kind of took off and got the house on the market, rented a house here in the Flower Bluff area, which is next to Corpus, and got him enrolled in school, and he graduated from Flower Bluff, and we kind of kept our eye out for land. Because we knew that's kind of where we wanted to eventually. We wanted to have our own little slice of Texas that we could call ours. It took us probably a good 3.5 years before we found something that really suited us, and we signed our lives away and got our second mortgage. So. That process is always fun.
Yeah.
So we got this place. Let's see, that was November of 2023. Yeah, November of 23, and we moved out here full time in July of 24. We moved out here full time. So yeah, man, we've just been working, trying to get the land back the way it should be. I know your conservation's near and dear to your heart too. So we've got a lot of um, overgrown overgrown area. It's South Texas brush country. I mean, that's where we're at. Um, so we've been slowly kind of peeling away some of the trees. We really don't want to go full tilt, like bulldoze everything flat, because we do want to respect the environment, and and nature does what nature does. Um, so, but yeah,
Yeah, man.
and we've just been kind of taking it day by day, and we've got so we've been out here, and then we have my oldest daughter, her husband, and their two kids are also out here with us full time. So man, we're work and more work, and then lots of playtime. So
That's
so that's
awesome, dude. That's
loads
a
of fun.
Dude, absolutely. That's a hell of a background, man.
Yeah.
The moving from Lubbock to Belton even is an adjustment, I can imagine,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
with your dad's job there, and but man, this is a cool area, dude. It really is. Like
It is.
between Fort Hood and Belton and Temple, they're all
Oh
like
yeah.
in their own way, shape, or form, they're all bustling communities, but it's not like
Yeah.
other places I've been. It's just different. There's a different culture here in Texas.
Yep.
You go to these places and I don't know, it's just different. Like it's surprising how big Belton and Temple are because when you're
Yes.
busting through them, like it feels like it should be a small community because that's just how everything feels, no matter where you go,
Yep.
what store you go to, restaurants, whatever.
Right.
But man, like they're giant communities. Then you drive by their football fields, dude. It's like, oh yeah, we're not
Yeah.
in Iowa anymore. Like
Yeah.
a high school in that community, dude, is
Yep.
like you can tell it's king, dude, because
Oh yeah.
yeah, there's high schools you drive by in their football stadiums, even out here in Harker Heights or Killeen in this area.
Oh yeah.
It's like, dude, my high school bleachers would have filled up a tenth of of
Right.
what the away side is on this side,
Yeah.
than here in Texas.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a wild change, but everything feels like small town community. The first thing we noticed when we moved to Texas, because we've been grew up in Iowa, moved to the East Coast for when we were both in the military. I got out there. We went to Montana for 5 years, went back to the East Coast to DC, and down here to Texas. And it's like the first thing, like literally our first experience, we stopped at a gas station at a Sefco, and a guy opened the door for my wife when she was walking because she was ahead of me. And she's like,
Yep.
"Holy hell, that's never happened ever."
Yep.
It's like, okay, we're not in Kansas anymore. So,
Right.
um, just a cool experience being down here, man. But then I was always curious about you a little bit, and I hear it in your voice, and I think a product of it is like doing what I did, in the outdoors world for about 12 years. Is I worked with every job I held at that company was like dealing with like hundreds or thousands of people from all across the country in any
Yep.
capacity I worked. It didn't really matter where I was, the customer base or the groups like you guys in the team program or whatever. It was like thousands of people, and you deal with them from all over the country. As you start to develop these like little nuances of like, okay, I'm going to talk to this person from this state today. Here's what I should expect and whatever. And the way as soon as you started talking to me when I first met at that trade show, I'm like, you're from Texas, but I know there's something different there. So the 12 years in Oregon or Washington, I
Yep.
think makes a lot of sense, and I think that definitely imparted itself on you a little bit. You can absolutely tell that, and it probably
Yeah.
makes a little bit more sense. You met your wife there, you had all your kids there. There's a huge part of you,
Yep.
that kind of belongs in the Pacific Northwest a little bit. So that's super cool. And I love that you moved to Hutto and you came back. I wouldn't know Hutto at all, except for number one, they're the only town in the country with a hippo for a mascot, right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
the whole
That
thing.
is great. Yes,
Yeah, man.
sir.
There's more concrete hippos in more
Yep.
concrete hippos in Hutto, Texas, than there probably are in all of Africa.
Yeah.
But my brother lives in Hutto of all places, so that's pretty cool, man.
Nice.
He's
Nice.
an engineer in Austin. The firm he works for is out of Austin, but he's lived in
Okay.
Hutto. He's
Nice.
he lived in Austin for a couple years, and then he moved to Hutto. Now he's settled down there, got a house, and his wife there. And but yeah, pretty awesome, dude. That's so cool. And then how did you and your wife meet? So you're a Texas boy, you move up to the Pacific
Yep.
Northwest. Like, how did you and your wife end up? Was it the Southern drawl that got her at the time, or what?
Right. So, well, and that was kind of the cool thing. So so I had, graduated high school, and was out, uh, got through college, and was just working and living life, man. And I had moved into these apartments, and I I see this woman walk out the door and walking down the sidewalk going to the parking garage one day, and I was like, holy smokes, I got to go find her. But so yeah, I quickly chased her down and courted her pretty good. So I'd say on my part that worked out pretty good.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so yeah, we're actually or we're neighbors that lived in the same apartment complex. So that was pretty cool. It's I always say it's like it's it's such a big world out there, but really it's such a small world. I mean, when you think about all the different things, you can call it a coincidence, happenstance, fate, call it what you want. But man, I'm telling you, it's a big world we live in. But dude, we got to take care of each other. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like, hey, what are the chances that I move into these new apartments and a month later I meet the woman who eventually will be my wife and the mom to my children. I mean,
It's
call it
wild,
what you
dude.
want,
Yeah,
but it's crazy. So,
it is.
but yeah,
No, that's awesome, dude.
so we met there and shortly thereafter got married and had kids. We both kind of were working at the time, and but we both were kind of on the same mindset. We were like, "Oh, well, I'd rather have kids at a little younger age, so that way we can kind of enjoy the kids growing up, and hopefully one day have grandkids." So
Yeah. Yep.
and just kind of enjoy life. Both. So, but yeah, it's a
That's cool.
crazy world we live in, man. But it's a beautiful thing.
It's always beautiful, dude. Yeah, the rearview mirror is always the most beautiful part of all, right? Because all the puzzle pieces kind of get a place, and you can actually you can see them in action versus the real time play sometimes that we go through.
Yes, sir.
Um, and yeah, you dumped into your land down here. So I'm
Yeah.
curious. You talked about kind of trying to restore your property to,
Yes.
as close to what you obviously what you guys want it to be, but
Yeah.
maybe the most native version of it or whatever. But around here, like one thing I've noticed is you'll be driving around these different back highways and stuff. I hardly ever take I-35. I always like just taking a long way, seeing country, whatever.
Yep.
And I noticed like I don't know if it's the original landowners or maybe it changes hands, but I do see a lot of that. I see a lot of exactly what you said, where land just gets flat out bulldozed. They go through and they just level it, and maybe there's a development coming. I don't know that, but every once in a while you'll see it where they left certain trees or whatever, but pretty much everything else is literally brought back down to the dirt. Is that pretty
Yeah.
common down here for like just kind of clearing land or getting it back to a state that maybe they wanted, or maybe it's the goal is clearing brush and that's the easiest way to do it? Like talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I see a lot of people here we're in mesquite country and we they if you don't take care of them, they get out of control really quick and a lot of people we really like the mesquites, but we don't like all the brush and uh, the super thick parts of it. Yeah, it's good for the habitat, it's good for the birds, the quail love it. But it's like, hey, I could always come back and replant some stuff later on down the road, and that's kind of where our mentality is. And a lot of the area that we're at used to be just farmland. Um, we have we have some cattle. There's our neighbors to the over here. They've been here for I want to say he said over 125 years. Their family has owned that land next door to them, and they raise cattle as well. Um, so a lot of it has been like grassland and prairie land reclamation. I guess is the easiest way to do it. And a lot of the folks, I think it's that fear of fire. I think has really gotten to people. We've been to a couple of Texas AgriLife events. We go to a lot of their talks and work with the biologists that are from the area, and they'll put up, slideshows saying, hey, there used to be, like I think it was like 5 to 6 like just natural burns, a year. And to where now it's like, well, if something catches on fire, there's maybe homes nearby, there's, structures that you want to protect, right? So we want to put that stuff out, right? So we're not endangering any lives or structure. So I think a lot of our overgrowth kind of came from that mentality, of, fire is bad. But I think now people are kind of under getting, oh, hey, this was our history. I mean, if you go back and look, and they were doing studies like back 50, 80, 100 years, going back and seeing, hey, there was a fire, and, all of this grassland, you know, it recovers quickly. We've got great soil here, lots of sandy loam, which, trees, grass, all of that stuff loves it. But when you kind of don't let things burn, and then you don't also manage the trees and the shrubs and the thickets, right? That's kind of where you get the overgrowth. And I think personally, I think it's a bit extreme to just take the bulldoze method, right, and just kind of flatten everything. But for some people, that's like the most, I guess, the quick and easy way to kind of recover that land. So if you bulldoze that out, and then that way you can keep your large growth trees, or the trees that you want to keep, and let those grow back, and then you let the grass come back, and then you can replant vegetation that you want, that's native to the area. So, and then of course, we have the developers that come in. I mean, everybody needs a house, right? So at at some point, we're getting bigger. There's more population, so everybody's got to have a place to lay their head at night. It's unfortunate that it happens for development, but it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah,
So
prosperity, dude, and then taxes in other
yep,
places drive more people to other
yeah,
places,
yeah,
and
and
they got
all,
to have a
all
place
the
to live
all
when
the
they get there.
business incentives that Texas offers. I mean,
Yep.
it's just like, why would I not want to move here? And of course, we love it. I mean, it's great for the economy. It's great for all of our local little towns. But yeah. So that's
Yeah,
that's
dude.
kind
No,
of where that's kind of where we're at.
that's awesome. I love that you guys have that perspective on it because, I don't know, again, growing up in the, or going, to school at the end of the day for like park rangering and
Yeah.
biology and all that good stuff. Like, I find a lot of fascination with that. So every time I hear somebody talk about it, it's like, okay, like I want to hear your take because in
Yep.
Iowa is the same way. It's a prairie state by default. You
Yep.
wouldn't know it by driving through it today. There's like less
Right.
than like 0.5% or something that's
Right.
even in prairie ground or whatever. But yeah, just 100% of it was dictated by the way it was before human development got there, and then of course
Yep.
agricultural needs and different things like that. Um, but yeah, dude, the fire by itself is like it's mind blowing what burning a place every now and then will do to just
Yep.
restoring things to natural. I think it's a kind of a cool testament. I think that like a trial by fire, just philosophy on life. Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes to make things or get you back to a ground zero or to make something new again, like you literally have to burn it
Right.
to the ground and start over.
Yeah.
Um, and it's amazing in my mind that like our wildlife and our ecosystems and stuff, just that's such a natural part of what that
Yeah.
looks like. And we've we don't like things burning to the ground. We don't want our homes going away or whatever, right? So like we take it out of the
Yep.
element, thinking it's this big dangerous thing in our mentality today. But then you look back, clear back to the times when Native Americans and things were running around here or wherever, like they were burning
Yep.
places on purpose to number
Yep.
one, burn it, clear it for maybe driving wildlife a certain direction if they needed to go somewhere, but also like they know when they look back that place is going to be regenerated and way better, and there's
Yeah.
going to be 10 times as much of what was there before by burning
Yes.
it. And then I think the Meat Eater podcast was talking about this. They went on. They finally. I was always curious if the Meat Eater was ever going to like jump countries because they're for the most part it's like United States hunting in Alaska and North America
Yeah.
stuff. Sometimes Mexico, but then he finally did Alaska here this last year, and he talks about that. They literally drive around with matches in their pocket and they just flick matches out the truck when they're driving around just to for the sheer sake of burning a few acres here, burning 100 acres there
Right.
as they're going. It's just part of their daily out there hunting routine. If they see a spot that's growing a little too tall, burn it.
Right.
And it keeps it more native, keeps the food that's there. It's a higher vegetation quality for the animals that are
Yes.
there, keeps the herds healthier, all that good stuff, man. It's just
Yeah.
yeah, it's I love that you guys are on that train. And so I guess tell
Yep.
us a little bit about the Slocum farmstead, dude. Is that like what you're doing full time now, or
Yeah.
what do you got going on for like job plus this farmstead? Like, what's the vision?
Right. You bet. So right now, and for, let's see, for the last 2 years, I've worked for AEP. They're a huge power provider for here for Texas and Ohio and Virginia and parts of Oklahoma. Um, it's been a really cool experience there. But yeah, I do that. So that's my full time. I guess 8 to 5 job. And on the side, we started up the Slocum Farmstead. So that's kind of our mission and our goal in life is to get that up and running. And we're eventually hoping to do some sales, and go to local farmers markets and events, and kind of set up booths. And we've got all kinds of crazy ideas that we want to try to run through. But yeah, everything starts with a hope and a dream, So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so we've got that. We just bought this year. We started our goat life. Well, we're goat farmers now. Um, so we've got 3 goats right now. So we've got that. So we're gonna start looking into. I mean, you can do goat milk, goat soaps, and lotions, and all kinds of fun stuff. So we're gonna try and do some of that. And we've got plenty of mesquite around, and I'm pretty handy at swinging an axe. So, but yeah, so we've got lots of firewood. So we're going to try to set up tables and booths and stuff, and of course we've got chickens, and eggs and all that good stuff. So we're going to try to start, I think this year, and try to start hitting some local fairs and events and markets. I know we've got one here in Alice that's pretty close. They do, I think it's the first Saturday every month. They set up in the Sutherland's parking lot there in town. So that'll be cool. We're gonna try to get that going, and basically, yeah, we want to have people out, and just let them enjoy nature. We try to keep our habitat as natural as possible, without disturbing the wildlife and without disturbing the vegetation. And like I said before, conservation is near and dear to our hearts. We want to keep everything as natural as possible, without influencing the wildlife too much. Um, but yeah, we've had a couple of events. We did a huge Easter egg hunt, not this the year before last. Up here, we had a huge egg hunt out here. We did. I think we're gonna do a big July 4th event. Um, trying to go America, 250 years, happy birthday. So it's a good special year, for that. So we're trying to put together something, some kind of event for that. But yeah, we do lots of birthdays. People come out, like, to see the cows. They come play with the goats. So yeah, it's cool, man. We I don't know, our heads are always going in like 1,000 different directions, trying to figure out, like, oh, hey, this is a cool idea. Oh, let's go try this out. So, and farming and ranching, it's a trial by fire every day. You know, Fences break, tractors break, tools break, and then we're human, so every once in a while it's nice to have a day off. Um, but
Yeah.
I work. Luckily, I got a pretty good management staff behind me, so they let me switch over to do 410s. So I'm off every Friday. So my wife's like, "Oh, cool! So we can have another day." And I'm like, "Right, but yeah, what can I get done with an extra day? So, but yeah, she's super supportive. And she loves playing with the animals and helping raise them and working out here too. So it's nice. I always tell her, like, we'll be sitting about at the end of the day, watching the sunset, sitting in a chair, and just enjoying life and enjoying the view. And it's like, man, what I wouldn't give as a kid to have this growing up. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
whew, dude, it's just yeah, it's real special. It's a special thing.
That's,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like
that's
teary eyed over it. That's
yeah, man.
it's a
That's
special thing, man. That's as a kid growing up, like I wanted to have a place that we could go to, all the time and go out and enjoy the outdoors. And we were just a big outdoor family, and we raised our kids to be outside. I mean, we went and played in the mountains in the Northwest and played at the beach. Don't forget your wetsuit. It is a little chilly over there. Um, but yeah, yeah. But but man, it's just it's a beautiful thing, man. And like I said, I think the older I get, I think it changes your perspective a little bit. And like I said, we want better for our kids, and not we've got three grandkids total between all the kids. And you just look at them and you watch them run around out in the grass and playing in the dirt, and playing with chickens and playing with the goats. And it's like, man, it's just such a beautiful thing. It really is.
that's wild, dude. That's so beautiful, man. That's
It is.
golly, dude. You're speaking right to my heart on all of it. And here in
Yep,
Texas, it's different, man.
it
We
is.
I don't know what it is about Texas that hits different with that, but we um our back fixes a set here too, and it's just like one of those things. There's something about a Texas night. It's always, not
Yep.
always, for me, it's always hot during
Yeah.
the day here in Texas. I was
Yeah.
loving 1 month of winter we got here. Like I'm a cold weather
Right.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's getting to be
Still, it
warm
just
warm
happens, and
season.
I've been,
Yeah.
yeah, yep, it's getting there. But dude, yeah, I am, I'm dreaming with you here, brother, when you're talking about that, because that's something
Yep.
I grew up to. I kind of got myself into hunting, just something just was in me that wasn't something I got brought up with necessarily. Just I
Right.
love it, but it's been a dream of mine, absolutely, to have a place of my own that says, hey, again, all the things, like I want my kids to be out running out back. I want them to
Yep.
just friggin' have at it. There's acres back there. Do whatever. Come home, when it's dark, and do all
Yep.
that. But just have a place, like you said, to go out and explore, and just and then also work the land. Be a part of
Yes.
shaping it and making it what it is and all that good stuff. That's just, man, you're talking literally right to my heart on all that. And my
Right.
wife, she's active duty Air Force right now. She's actually she's in DC right now as we're talking. Graduating with her doctorate degree, and so she'll have after. Well, we're getting ready to move here in a couple of weeks to Alabama. So by the time this podcast is out, we'll be in Alabama. Um,
Nice.
and about what her career takes her. 8 years left towards the 20-year retirement mark, right? So, but yeah, her dream is to have a hobby farm. So when you said your wife's like that was kind of something that she wanted to do, I was like, hell yeah, dude,
Yep.
that's
Let's
awesome. I'm gonna
go.
be calling you and getting advice on how to raise goats and
Right.
cattle
You'd
and
be
all the
like,
good stuff.
yeah, I'd be like, hey, the goats got out again. Yeah. 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 That is
Yep.
that is the one thing that I guess if you don't know, do your research on goat fence. Because they will literally spend 23 hours of the day trying to figure out how to get out of that fence. Um,
That's so awesome, dude. We just
so
went to a little place between here and Taylor. I can't remember what the farmstead is or whatever, but anyway, one of the things they offer there is like you can feed the baby goats and baby
yeah,
cows if they're like the uh right temperament or whatever. But anyway, the goats, there was like a couple fences, dude, and like there was a full-time person standing at that fence to just put the goat back in the fence. They would get right
yep,
back out, put it back in the fence. Like once they figure it out, I can only imagine how hard it is to keep them in there, man.
yeah, yeah. It took us a little bit to get our fencing right. We were like, oh hey, there's a goat running around the front yard. I'm like, oh well, they must have found another hole in the fence or another way to get out. So yeah, let's
That's
go
awesome.
investigate and fix that. So like I said, man, every day is just a new adventure. Like nothing's ever the same, and there's something to be said for that. And I don't know. My like I said before, like our brains just kind of like firing off on all 8 cylinders all the time, trying to think of different ideas and different fun stuff to do. And
Yeah.
then life kind of throws wrenches in there every once in a while and says, "Oh, hey, you're going to work on this now." So,
Yep. Yep.
but
Keeps
yeah,
us
man,
sharp.
it does keeps you on your toes all the time.
That's awesome. And before we jump into your I might title this episode I haven't quite decided, but something about wet Texas turkeys or something like that. I don't know. Before
Yeah,
we jump into
that
the wet
that one
Texas
day that
turkey
we
stuff.
actually got rain.
Yeah, right. The only day.
Yeah.
Before, so I do want to know a little bit about this goat farming situation, and mainly the
Yes.
question comes from like you can't drive anywhere in Texas without passing. I don't care if they have half an acre or they've got six
Yep.
thousand acres. It's hard to find a place that doesn't have a herd of goats in their yard. Like, what is
Yep.
the deal with goats in Texas?
Well, uh, a lot of people, they're ruminant animals, right? So it's just like having a cow, but like a third of the cost,
Okay.
because they're not as big. They don't eat as much. They're basically doing the same thing. You got the hoof trimming, you have the vaccinations, you have the minerals, you have the feed. And especially right now, like if you were wanting to start up a brand new cattle farm right now, I mean, if you just won the lottery or something, I'd say, yeah, go for it. But with the price of beef and everything and cattle right now, I mean, it's great. It's really good if you have a lot of cattle and you're okay selling some of your herd. But if you're a buyer right now, it's pretty tough. Which
Yeah.
is one of the reasons why we wound up getting the goats. Where we're like, hey, what other animals, can we have that have, obviously we have the grandkids and we have the kids here, right? So we're wanting something with a good temperament, because we want the kids to grow up not being afraid of animals, but also, having respect for them. So we're like, well, let's try a goat. So we got one. He was about 3 months old when we got him. And just got off of the bottle. Was eating feed. So we're like, all right. Then a couple minutes later, we were trying to find him some girlfriends to stay here. So we had found a farm not too far from here that had two that had just turned 3 months, so they're a little younger than he is. But I was like, no, that'd be perfect. That way they'll all be kind of similar age. They'll be able to grow up together. They'll be able to grow up around the kids, with the kids interacting with them. You know what I mean? You can go in there, even they're I want to see about 6 and 8 months old now. Um, and the I don't have any problems letting the kids go in there, and they're very well tempered. They're not trying to. You see a lot of goats sometimes are like head button and knocking people over and that kind of stuff, and I'm like, no, I don't, no, I'm not into that. I want the kids to be safe, and I want them to, grow up. Like I said, being okay with them, and but also at the same time, respecting that's their space. Um, you know, but they can go in there, and I mean, they go in there with a handful. We have some little treats that we give them on Sundays when we all meet up out for supper here. But yeah, I give the kids a little handful of goat treats, and they all just kind of walk in there with their little hands, holding them out, and the goats eat right out of their hands. So it's cool. But yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. We're learning day by day.
No, that's awesome, man. I was curious because like I know Texas has some tax advantages too for like
Yes.
agricultural
Yep.
properties versus non. And I guess
Yes.
like I said, when you drive by, and I don't know how much property actually belongs to the places, but there's times when you're driving down a highway and it looks like somebody's got, like I said, maybe an acre, maybe an acre and a half or
Yep.
something, and there's 20 goats out in the front yard or whatever it looks like. So I was more curious on, is it more of like the tax thing? But like that makes total sense. From an ag
Yep.
perspective, there's probably, with
Yes.
the size of the herd that they have, you have to imagine there's something beyond just, I want goats out here. or
Yeah.
whatever it is. So that makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense that
Yeah.
they're probably actually in it for the ag side of it.
Yeah, taxes are a huge part of it. Obviously, we get a pretty good benefit being ag exempt on the property taxes. And then, on a area like that, I mean, you don't ever have to buy a lawnmower. I mean, you
Yeah,
got your
yeah.
lawn mowing services right there. You don't have to worry about trees growing up because they'll just eat them right to the ground. Um,
Hmm.
and birria, if you've never had it, it's very delicious. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of people, especially here in South Texas, that they will have goats or have the babies, and they'll as soon as they're ready to come off of the bottle, it's time. We're making tacos. So
That's
and
awesome, dude.
yeah,
That's
so
crazy. Yeah,
and they're
I
delicious.
I was
Yeah.
I was going to ask about the meat side of it. So I don't remember if it
Yes.
was. I don't think it's here in Texas. Well, we just came from DC, so DC is like a melting pot of literally any other country except U.S. Like there's so many immigrants and so many different people. So you go to Costco, for example, right? And like the amount
Right.
of like it experience is like going to Costco pretty much anywhere. But the options they have for different types of food is kind of wild to
Right.
look at. And I think it was in DC. I don't think it was here, but it was the very first time I saw like they had like a whole freezer section full of different like goat meat options. And I
Yes.
think it was probably, and you said burrito, dude, like by far and large, that's about my favorite kind of uh I'll call it Mexican food. Maybe it's a Texas thing, I'm not sure, but if you can find burrito tacos, burrito burritos, whatever it is, dude, I'm all over
Yeah.
it. So
They
you're
they
telling me
are delicious.
there's goat burrito and it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what interesting. So a lot of people think associate with the birria with beef, but if
Yeah,
you go back and look, original birria was made with goat meat.
really.
Yes, that's where it came from. So that's
Okay.
yeah,
Well, dude,
yeah.
yeah,
So
my wife's
we
not gonna
love
like
both.
it, but
So we don't discriminate.
yeah, as I say, heck
It's
yeah,
all
no way,
it's
dude.
all good.
Yeah, my wife better watch out. Her goats are in trouble if I know you can make good burrito
Yes.
out of it.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, we're getting goats. We've got too many goats now, so I think
Yeah.
we've reached our limit. So like the next ones, but yeah, it was a funny. So the when we bought our first male goat, it was funny. That was the first question that he asked us. He was like, hey, are you going to take him home and raise him, or are you taking him home to eat? And I said, no, we're going to take him home to eat. I'm like, yeah, no, we're not going to eat them. We're going to raise them up and kind of build our herd out, And he's like, oh, okay. And then, we were on our way out, and he's like, the goat's like, I'm carrying the goat in my arms, out to the truck, and the guy that we bought him from is telling the goat, he's like, yo, you're going to a better place. Most of your friends are, eaten by now, so be thankful. So
Yeah,
we thought that was pretty funny, but
that's
yeah,
awesome.
that was pretty awesome. But
That's
yeah,
so cool, dude. Well, that makes me
so
curious now too, because we'll get into this is kind of merging into the hunting side now. So, um, there isn't a there. I'm if I hear somebody tell me that a certain type of game animal, especially, isn't
mhm.
ideal to eat or whatever, maybe like everyone I've ever killed is nasty. I'm pretty skeptical of that in general until I've tried
Yeah,
it because when we moved to Montana, dude, it was like pronghorn out there was the thing that people either I'd say it was probably I'm gonna go 65-35. 65% of people would say, "Oh, dude, don't no, don't even bother.
don't eat it. Yeah,
You can hunt them, but don't eat them."
yeah,
35% of people are like, "Dude, it's the best." I haven't had like to this day. I think we've hunted. I got two or three in Wyoming while we were out there, and three or four in Montana. My wife got a pronghorn in Montana too. Dude, it's the only meat my wife has ever asked for. Like we had especially in Montana, dude, we had a freezer full of game meat, elk, mule deer,
yeah,
whitetail, pronghorn every year, sometimes turkeys. But dude, if there was pronghorn in there, like she was asking for it until it was gone. Like
yeah,
loved it, and it's
yep,
I would say by far and large like the best game meat I've had.
yep,
But like I said, there's just overwhelming majority would say like don't bother, or don't eat a
Right.
buck, eat a doe only, or whatever the case is. We've had our mix, everything was good, but we did extra like I always took extra care with if we got an antler or a
Yes.
pronghorn down. I just took extra care of it, made sure the meat was cooled
Yep.
down as fast as I could. I never messed around with taking the whole animal home or anything like that. It was always broken down in the field and in the game bags
Yep.
at home on ice, and then dealt with it immediately, right? And I think that
Yeah.
was probably part of it. But then here in Texas, when I first came here, we were only here for 13 months, but I had a wild bucket list of things I wanted to hunt here in Texas and have achieved absolutely zero of them. But the Aoudad was something I always thought would be super cool to get, like the whole poor
Yes.
man sheep hunt thing and whatever.
Yep.
But the one thing I hear about an Aoudad is that they're just flat out do not eat them. Yuck,
Yeah.
yuck, yuck. But then
Yep.
so now I'm not trying. I don't know. My head always lumped in. I would lump in a Barbary sheep Aoudad, maybe with a goat. I don't know. But like
Yep.
I'm guessing either A, they're totally different, or are you saying like in that whole family of animals, like this might not be that actually bad to eat? I'm totally making an assumption here, but after
Yeah.
this goat story and making burrito with it, I'm like, I could make an Aoudad burrito and it probably doesn't suck.
I'm just saying you certainly can. I know there's I kind of think I'm of the same opinion, right? So I think a lot of it has to do with animal and meat care. How you're prepping it, how you're storing it, what did you do before, you take it home and process it however you want to process it, right? Because like along that same lines, like we went over to Rock Springs in West Texas and hunted ram over there. And that's what people are like. People there, like that's their staple. Like they don't eat beef, they eat ram,
Wow.
right? Like beef is like a delicacy, you know. So everybody eats ram, and then you can move towards more central and east Texas, and they're like, oh, we don't, we go over and we, it's basically a trophy hunt.
Yeah.
If we'll either donate the meat, or we don't eat it, and I'm like, huh. And I was like, well, I'd never had ram before, so I was like, well, I've had the opportunity to take one, so I took one, and we had immediately went and retrieved it, got it hung, skinned, quartered, the whole deal, got it on ice, and then of course I had to drive home from Rock Springs, but we had a bunch of coolers that we kept in bags and kept it on ice the whole time. And dude, I first thing I did was break out those back straps, slice them up into steaks, and I just threw them on the flat top. And no seasonings, no nothing, right? I'm like, I want to see what this is like natural, right? That way, then you kind of know you can gauge, if you want to grind some up for burger or sausage, what you can season it with, right? Dude, that was some of
Right.
the best meat, like
Really?
unseasoned, just best meat I've had. And I'm like, this is delicious. I don't know why you wouldn't eat this, but I don't know. I also shoot squirrels and eat those. So, you know, I mean, I take that with a grain of salt for whatever it's worth. But yeah, and there's kind of I think people kind of feel the same way about wild hogs too, right? You either like to eat them or it's like, oh, if you get a boar, don't eat the boar, go for the sow, and I'm like, you know, hey, to me, if I'm hungry, we're gonna eat.
Yeah, man. Yeah, meat's meat, dude. That
Yeah.
no, I love
So
that, dude. And I was actually been curious about the Rams too, because that's a huge popular thing here in Texas. And
yes.
the hardest part for me in Texas has been trying to figure out, not necessarily in this area, being, military hunting
Yep.
Fort Hood, there's a bajillion opportunities. Like this is a good
Oh yeah.
spot
Yeah.
if you want to hunt really whatever here, deer, hog, whatever, turkey in Texas. But beyond that, just the cost of everything it was a surprise for me.
Yeah.
I knew a lot of stuff. Obviously, there's a price tag. You're going on to mostly a high fence situation.
Yep.
Every animal has a real cost to the landowner and whatever, but
Yep.
it's got a real cost to the hunter too. And then you add the novelty of the animal to it, and it just exponentially
Right.
grows. So the one thing you see a lot of is guys offering these ram hunts. And in my head, I'm like until hearing your story,
Yep.
I look at that. I'm like, why the hell would you want to go pay? Just why would you want to pay to go hunt that? It's not
Yeah.
cool. I've always assumed though it was like a trophy hunt. Like it's an easy thing. A lot of times you see like kids getting into it, or someone
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, I'm trying to book a hunt for 4 kids that are looking to start hunting," and they
Yeah.
go, "Hey, I've got a ram hunt. It costs this much per head, whatever." And I've always just my head's always said, okay, like I guess you're just going to do it, and leaving the meat out of the picture. Because in my mind, I guess I never painted a picture of that being something that people
Yep.
really ate. Now, if I went and hunted it, I absolutely would.
Yeah.
I'd do literally the exact same. Every animal I've ever hunted, I did the exact same thing. I try that meat by itself, just
Yep.
flash fry it on a cast iron skillet, and then try it by
Yep.
itself, and then maybe add salt, pepper, and call it a day. And then beyond that, like you said, kind of paint the picture of how I want to prepare this for somebody else beyond that. Um, so no, that's cool, man. I've never thought about the ram situations. There's a lot of good meat to be
Yeah.
had in Texas because everybody's got
There
rams,
is.
and surprisingly, like for the price tag, there are people that go and get them, but I think every ranch also has an overabundance of them because people don't hunt them enough, so they end up
Yeah.
with like way more than what they need, and
Right.
maybe that's part of the them being one of the more budget friendly opportunities out here. But
It is.
if you're telling me again, you can make ram burrito, dude,
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. We did. That was, so that's what we did. We went out to a ranch, in Rock Springs. So it was, funny. We actually went with a group of Taxicam guys,
Oh, cool.
that are here from Texas. So we all went out and booked the weekend, and, basically everything's got a different colored ear tag, and that's the price, and it's
Oh,
like,
okay.
okay, so it's like, all right, well, look at the ear tag, and you're like, hey, the ranch owner is like, okay, here's the book, here's the prices. If you shoot this, and that's what you pay, right? So yeah, it was crazy, and mine just happened to be on the last day of the hunt. We were kind of just all sitting around getting ready that morning, and then we went out in the afternoon for one more try, and I'm like, hey, that's the right colored ear tag. I can take that one. So but yeah, it was fun. And we've got there's actually um not too well. I guess they're probably 7-8 miles from us. They actually have some rams out on their property, and I'm like, I kind of wonder how they would do here with the environment. But we're all low fence around here, so obviously I'm like, I don't know how. I guess if they would try to get out, like I wouldn't go by Axis,
Yeah.
and bring them out, because they'd be running all over the place. But it was kind of like one of those things in the back of my head. I'm like, I wonder, how they would do in a low fence environment. And I'm like, because
Yeah.
man, I wouldn't mind having some rams out here. I mean, they're ruminant animals. They eat the same thing.
Yeah.
They forage. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so maybe we can look into that. So I'm like, oh, let's file that away for later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one of the long-term ideas, man. Yeah, they
Yep.
are kind of neat. Yeah, and then the ear tag thing. So that's another. I've gone on a grand total of one high fence hunt out here, and an
Yep.
opportunity for either a broke horn or cow oryx, or yeah, scimitar oryx, or what was the other thing I was trying to get? Or a red stag hind. I was going.
Oh,
It was
nice.
a meat
Yeah.
hunt this guy was offering. A buddy of mine that I've known for a long time, actually from Virginia, now living in Texas. He was doing some ranch management for a guy, and was trying
Nice.
to just get the numbers back to like Texas Parks and
Right.
Wildlife regulations, or just to like have it managed properly or whatever.
Yep.
So there's a lot of meat hunt opportunities for really good
Oh yeah.
price. So those were the two
Oh
things I
yeah.
went out there for. Fully expecting, I had 2 days to hunt. I was fully expecting to come home with one of each animal. Dude, I didn't
Yeah.
even see one of each animal. So it's actually wild. Like, this whole like high fence thing. I think
Yep.
it was a great experience for me because it was a 4,000 acre ranch, so nice size, but it
Nice.
was hotter than normal for that time of year too.
Yeah.
So that played a huge. Animals are still animals, man. They still go do their things. They'll find the
Yep.
little spots where they can get away from elements or get away from people and do the different things. And
Right.
it was a good experience. Just you mentioned like the ear tag situation that you literally had to wait till
Yep.
your last day, because as soon as you hear ear tag, you're like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna go out there, I'm just gonna shoot something, right? But like
Yeah.
you that's a great testament, and I've got a story to back that up. It's like you may go out on a high fence hunt, and a lot of times, if you've never done it, you do go into the situation like, oh yeah, they say
Yep.
that on TV, or oh yeah, they say that this that, and the other. Go out there, and you may go out there and have an opportunity to,
Yeah.
for whatever you're chasing, of just be open minded that there is a reality that you just might not come home with something. You just may not get a shot opportunity, or maybe you do see the animal and it's not the right one. That oryx
Right.
situation, dude. You want to
Yep.
talk about trying to pick a freaking bull from a cow oryx, they look identical. I mean, damn near. Unless you have them standing side by side, it's almost
Right.
impossible.
Impossible to tell them apart.
So
Nice.
you're literally like, okay, scratch the cow situation. Let's look for one of the broken horns so I can actually tell the difference, you know?
Right.
So anyway, I'm
Nice.
glad you brought that up too, because just for people listening who maybe never hunted Texas, but are
Yeah.
kind of curious, do your research, find something that's in a budget
Yes.
and have a budget in mind, obviously make it budget friendly. And
Yep.
I've said it on a billion of these podcasts now, but like I am a price per pound guy. So I look at everything
Yeah.
through the lens of like, I
Yep.
want the meat more than I want XYZ trophy.
Yep.
Um, so I'm trying to always weigh that option. It's like, okay, what's my
Yep.
most cost effective price per
Right.
pound option?
Yeah.
Which if you're out here in Texas, man, find a ranch that's looking to thin out their oryx herd or a stag herd. I'd say either way. And don't have a problem shooting a cow. Like there's some good meat hunts that to be had out there, and nilgai too,
Absolutely.
depending on the situation. I would say for price per pound animal.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, that's awesome. And rams are, I don't know if I've ever seen the most budget friendly hunt on almost every ranch out here in Texas is going to be a ram hunt. So, and now that I know the meat
Yeah.
is good, and I
Yep.
trust Ben's judgment on that,
Yes.
absolutely, dude.
Yes.
I'm kind of kicking myself now and wishing I would have went on a ram hunt or two
Yeah. Yeah.
before we move. We've all been there. You're 6 hours into a sit, and the buck you're after is nowhere in sight. Your knees are absolutely barking against the bark of that tree. Most hunters just suck it up until they can't take it anymore, and then they head for the truck. But you can't feel a tag from the couch. Comfort isn't a luxury, it's a tactical advantage that keeps you in the game longer. That's why you need the knee bag by Light to Fire Outdoors. This isn't some cheap foam pad. It's a patent-pending bead-filled design that actually molds to your knees and supports your hips. It's built from ultra-tough, weatherproof Cordura. It won't soak up water or gain weight when the weather turns sideways. It features padded wings that cradle your knees and even has MOLLE attachments for your thermocell or other pouches and gear. It's 100% made in the USA, handmade by veterans, so you know you're supporting an awesome cause every single time you get in the tree. The best part, it's a multi-season tool. Strap it to your body for saddle hunting or mount it to the tree trunk as a knee pad, or when rifle season hits, turn it sideways. It becomes a rock-solid 15-inch tree-mounted shooting bag for those precision shots out of a saddle. Whether you want coyote tan or mossy oak bottomland, this is gear that evolves with your hunt. Stop fighting your gear and start focusing on the hunt. Get yours at www.prayinandslayin.com and use my code PRAYIN10 to get free shipping on your order. You can also hit the link in the show notes. The knee bag, comfort evolved. Stay steady, stay ready. In the woods or on the water, it's the small details that dictate success or failure. A ruined diaphragm call or a lost fly isn't just a nuisance, it's a blown opportunity. You spend thousands on the hunt, don't lose it because you didn't protect your tools. Puck Outdoors has solved this with their 100% made in the USA modular twist lock storage system. For hunters, the Puck keeps your elk and turkey mouth calls protected, organized, and dry, and ready to run. No more warped reeds, searching through pockets, junk drawers, or the truck floorboards. For fishermen, the Fishing Puck features a magnetic tray in 4 modular compartments to keep your hooks, flies, and weights locked down in exactly where you need them. It's compact, it's rugged, and it's built to keep your most critical gear in peak condition season after season. The best part is they fit right in your pocket, your bino harness, or your fishing vest. Don't let poor organization be the reason you come home empty-handed. Go to puckoutdoors.com and use code Prayin and Slayin to get yours. That's code Prayin and Slayin to save 10%. Protect your calls, secure your tackle. Puck in, pack out. This episode is powered by Dead Nuts Outdoors, makers of the most lifelike, lightweight, and weatherproof 2D archery targets in the world. That's right, I said 2D. We're talking full-size animals that bring the hunt to your backyard. Whether you're dialing in before the season or just burning daylight with your bow, Dead Nuts Targets makes practicing fun, training on full-size animals to ensure every rep in the backyard converts to success on your trips to the field. Built to last, easy to haul, compatible with any backstop, and 100% made in the USA, Dead Nuts Outdoors is a proud supporter of our veterans, investing in conservation and rooted in building a better, more confident community of hunters every step of the way. They are proud supporters of the Prayin and Slayin podcast network, and you can get 10% off your Dead Nuts targets by using the code Prayin and Slayin at checkout. That's Prayin and Slayin at your checkout or visiting the link in the show notes. Dead Nuts is helping us all hit the spot, not the dot. Hit it, Dead Nuts. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, that was the first one I'd been on, and I had the same similar kind of like, it's a high fence place. We're gonna be like, their pets or something, basically
Right.
going to go in. And it's like, oh, just go pick an ear tag, and we can call it hunting, right? But it's like, No, it was legit. Like it's obviously in West Texas, so there's lots of hills, lots of mountain terrain over there. And I was looking at my watch, like day one and day two, and like we hiked like 10 miles, day one and
Wow.
day two, like walking all over this guy's property. I mean, it was just it was bananas. But it was really fun. Obviously, totally different environment than here than central and South Texas. But I'm like, wow, this is very Oregon-esque. Just
Yeah.
really, really hot.
Well, and that's dude, that was half the adventure of the whole Aoudad thing. The thing I like the most is when I watch it on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah,
Like you see a lot of it. There's way more Aoudad on way more ranches in Texas than what I thought. So you can hunt them
yeah,
on the flattest ranch in Texas. That's literally
yep,
maybe 15 acres, or you can hunt them in West Texas out in like
yep,
public land in the mountains, right? Like
yep,
there's a whole variation of what you can get into there, and that's something I didn't realize. But in the vision I had in my head was it's a desert style mountain hunt, right? And so
yep,
that was half the adventure I wanted to chase, and the fact that you can shoot this awesome, huge horned,
yeah,
sheep at the end of the day with this really cool, like elk-like beard and the chaps on their
yeah.
legs and all this stuff. Like there's some novelty to it. And just and I will absolutely be back to Texas to do that hunt. I've just got to figure that out when I've got a little bit more time and not a 3 month old on my hands now.
Right.
So we'll get there. But
Yeah,
yeah, that was that. It's definitely some adventure to be had, and in Texas, just like Montana, actually. I mean, Montana, the cool part of up there is like you can hunt anywhere in Montana and you're going to have a totally different hunt than if you hunted 30 or 40 miles in any other direction around that spot. Like every
that's awesome.
inch of Montana just shapes itself in a different way. And Texas is the
Right.
exact same way from a landscape
Yep.
perspective, dude. Like if you pick your adventure and just pick what part of Texas you want to have it in,
Yeah,
and it's going to
exactly.
totally change the hunt,
Oh yeah.
which is super cool. And then, yeah, and I got to get back to the squirrel situation too, dude, because I don't want you to feel alone or like you got to keep advocating for yourself on the squirrels. I am all about eating some squirrels. And
Yep.
in Maryland, dude, when we were out there, my boy was two, or turned two in Maryland and three, and he was at the age where he was like just digging everything dad was doing and everything else,
Yep.
and wanted to be a part of all these situations. And the one thing Maryland's got more, they've got so many mass trees everywhere. You can't go anywhere and not see like 6,000 squirrels. And they've got gray squirrels,
Nice.
red squirrels, all of it, fox squirrels, and actually a Delmarva squirrel too, which I never did see in person. But they've got one of those, and you got
Hmm.
to be careful because it's the only one they've got like a regulation on. But
Ah.
anyway, and then here in Texas, dude, I've actually been like, I called two different Texas Parks and Wildlife guys to see about. I want to hunt him with an air gun. I can bring my shotgun, but I kind of want my boy to be able to
Yeah.
like he
Oh
he
yeah.
just he's into it, right? And so like I've got a Umar X 22 air gun. I've smacked more squirrels in Maryland than I ever thought I would. I turned into a small game hunter in Maryland, but I grew up hunting squirrels here and there. Just more if there was an opportunity, I'd take them, and we'd go out a couple times just for squirrels. But dude, squirrels delicious. Like
It
you hit it on
is.
the head. Like it takes some work to make enough of it, but
Yeah.
it is a delicious meat, dude. There's never not a lot of them to go
Yeah.
chase. And it's not always big game season when squirrel season's in. So if you want a reason just to
Yep.
get out and stomp around the woods, do some scouting for everything else, and
Right.
plug away at some squirrels, dude, you're gonna go home and have some good meat to eat.
Yeah.
But got my boy into that, dude. Did a ton of it in Maryland. That was his very first hunt ever. We went out, we got a couple, which is
Nice.
just super cool. So it's kind of special to me. But here
Yeah.
in Texas, man, I've been like, there's been like the limited amount of time I've had to get out in big game is it's been tough. My wife's full time. I switched careers now, so I'm work from home. But I've got a
Yep.
couple different things going on. So, and then I'm also full time with our kiddos. So I've got a 4 year old now, and we just have a 3 month old, and it's just tough to find time to get out. And then the
It
4 year old's
is.
at the age where it's like, pack up, brother, let's go. Like he's all
Right.
about it. He can keep up with me. He can outrun me most of the time. But
Yeah.
now the 3 month old's like, dang it, didn't see that coming. So no,
Right. I'm
no,
like,
he's not quite old enough to hold his head up
like
and
I'm
back.
pretty helpless here. I need help.
Yeah,
Help,
exactly.
please. Help.
He'll be flopping
Yeah.
around a little too much if I throw him in the
Yeah.
tail to you. So
Right.
but anyway, yeah, I'm all about the squirrel hunting. But I just wanted to make that plug because you've said it a couple times and you've added a
Right.
caveat of like, I don't know if I'm the weird guy, dude. You're not the weird guy. They are good, and there's so many of them. It's
Yeah.
hard not to just get out there and get after
You'd be like, yeah, yeah. That was one of the first things that when my son started expressing interest and wanting to go hunting too is we I'm like, we love to dove hunt, but I'm like, man, as a first time, going out, you want to try to hit a dove that's flying, 30, 40 miles an hour. I'm like, wait, there's a squirrel in that tree, hey, have at it. So that was kind of his like first experience into stepping into hunting was going squirrel hunting. So, it's and I would recommend it to anybody. I would, like, if you're looking for a nice small game, something to ease the kiddos into the hunting world, squirrel, rabbit, any of that stuff, man. It's good stuff.
Yeah, dude, I'm all about it. Yeah, the small game side, and there's the other reality that just there's times that big game you might only have one tag in your pocket, and
Yep.
you got to wait on your specific weekend to go do it. But small game, if you're open to small game hunting in general, it opens up so much more opportunity just to
It
get out
does.
and do it. And that was where on some of the public lands in Maryland specifically, I want to go out there and I want to scout it for deer. And so we're going out there. We're going
Yeah.
to drop some game cameras. We're going to set up, or do some scouting. But hey, while we're out there, man, let's like kind of walk you through the motions of hunting. And it was good for
Mhm.
me too, because honestly, I went out and I hunted the 2 years we were there. I hunted a ton for deer, and I got one deer the whole time I was there. So I did a
Yeah.
ton of scouting, did all the work for it. But I had a lot more fun just being out there too, just having an opportunity to
Oh
be in the
yeah.
woods and bring something home. Again, that price per pound,
Right.
the whole
Yeah. It's a
mentality, at
it's a
least the
little it's a little
poundage.
on the higher end, but
Yeah,
hey.
yeah. Well, it averaged out. I had
Yeah.
enough squirrels over that collective time,
Yeah.
that it worked out with the one deer I got, made it worth it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. And then on price per pounds too. I don't know if there's anything in Texas here. If you're a Texas resident, there's a lot of good opportunity. I'm not sure on the non-resident side. I haven't seen what that looks like yet, but the price per pound on about the smallest but very unique opportunity to hunt Rio down here in Texas. Turkey's probably at the list where price per pound is making a margin for itself. So you
Yeah.
got yourself, I think the first rainy day turkey I've ever asked someone to come on and tell the story of, but a soaking wet bird, and you smacked a Rio here in
Yes.
Texas, dude. So walk us through that hunt
Yes.
from start to finish.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool. I was we were just kind of hanging out, having a good day. It was it had rained pretty good that evening and an early morning, and I had come out to check on the goats and the chickens and make sure they were doing okay and staying dry. And I kind of poking my head around, and I hear this turkey off in the distance, and I'm like, huh, I wonder. And then it started raining again real heavy, so I'm like, oh well, whatever, it's fine. So walk back in the house, and we're just kind of hanging out, scrolling on phone, and I hear the turkey again, and I'm like, wow, that's really close. And I look out the window, and it's kind of still drizzling a little bit, and I'm like, I think I can make this work. And the ADHD is kicking in. Like, I've been cooped up in the house all morning. Like, I got to go find something to do. And so I grab my rifle and walk out the door, and I look up, and he's walking right past the feeder, and I'm like, I can make this work. I can make this work. Positive attitude, right? So
Yep.
but yeah, and I kind of walked out, and the rain finally let up a little bit. So put the stalk on him, and kind of chased him a little bit. Went about 50 yards into the trees, and so I just kind of settled down and sat next to a big mesquite, and he started to kind of turn around like he was going to come back around to the feeder, and I was like, okay, here you go. And as soon as I got the shot opportunity, man, I just lined him up and cracked one off, and he just did the turkey flop,
Heck
and
yeah, dude.
I was like, yes,
Done, son.
yes. So yeah, so that was good. So walked over and picked him up, took a picture, sent it to my wife, and of course I came walking back. I was very happy. I was like, yes, another turkey, thank you. And get back over here, and she peeks her head out the door, and she's like, well, I guess you're not bored anymore. And I was like, nope, I got to clean a turkey now.
Yep. Got
So
something to do on a rainy day, baby.
yeah, got something to do. So yeah, and so we got back, and I got my table and knife and everything out, and I just got set up underneath our cover and got the bird over there. And as soon as I got that done, rain immediately starts again. And I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you. So,
That's awesome.
but yeah, but that was pretty awesome, man. It was quite the experience. I was like, yeah, we see turkey every once in a while and see them walking by, and I'm like, we talk about that price per pound. I think about uh the time it takes me to go harvest the animal and then clean up afterwards. And then, I immediately want to break out the vac sealer and get it processed and put it in the vac sealer, put it in the fridge, right? So I'm like, all right, if I shoot this turkey, I'm going to be busy for probably about the next hour and a half. But I'm like,
Yeah.
it's a nice kind of a cruddy rainy day. I'm not running the tractor. I'm not running around. I don't want to tear up the ground. So I'm like, yeah, we can do this. We can do this. So, but
Heck
yeah,
yeah, dude.
it's
Let's go.
brought that guy back and got him all cleaned up. It was a little more time consuming being a big wet bird, but we got her done. But
That's
so yeah.
awesome. For
So
the specs on it, for the guys that care about the specs on a turkey.
yeah, so this one had it was an 8 3/4 inch long beard and an inch and a quarter long kickers on it, spurs on it.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a good bird. I wish that's one thing I need to get. I need to get me a nice scale so I can start weighing everything. But I don't know. All
Yeah.
dressed out, it was about 18 pounds. I put him on. We have like this regular meat scale. I put him on there after we got him all done. It was 18-pound bird.
That's a big
So
bird, dude.
yeah, yeah.
That's
So
awesome. So what do
so
you
I was
do
like,
on the meat side of things? Like how do you dress yours out? I mean, there's guys that do breasts, depending on most of the time I'll do breasts and thighs and legs depending, and
yep,
again most of the time it depends on the amount of time I've got to deal with it.
yep,
I've only done a full bird, like just plucked it and did that whole thing one time, and it was like
right,
my first or second turkey I ever got. But the guy that gave me permission to hunt his land, we were end up having like Thanksgiving dinner out at their place. We were family
nice,
friends, and so I just thought it was really cool. I wanted to have the bird that I hunted be part of that Thanksgiving dinner. So
yeah,
the whole bird that time. But yeah, other than that, it's usually for me, it's like a breast and thighs, depending on the situation or depending on the size
yeah,
of the bird too. Sometimes that varies. But like, how do
yeah.
you normally do your turkeys?
So that one, I've tried both ways. I've tried just kind of plucking, but my favorite go-to right now is just to skin them out. If if you can grab them right there by the best breastplate and get you a nice cut started, you can get your fingers in there and lift that skin away, and you can literally just like skinning a deer, go all the way
No
down,
kidding.
and then you can literally just peel everything off. Now the tricky part there is the wings. So the wings
Right.
are kind of a turd to get to, and to get
Yep.
those. So a lot of the times from there, I'll skin it as much as I can, and then I'll end up plucking the wings,
Okay.
just to make it a little bit easier. Now I'll do that for a whole bird, and a lot of the times, and a lot of the time it depends on freezer space too, because by the time you get a big bird like that in a freezer bag and try to go in, where's this gonna go? Yeah, I know, bad
Yep.
problem to have. I know.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, my freezer's full. I can't do that. Yeah, yeah. It's a horrible problem to have.
You
But
work for it,
listen,
man.
yeah, listen. I work for it, and these kids, man. I'm telling you,
Yep.
they will just eat and eat and eat.
Yep.
But yeah, I've done that, and then I know the first turkey I got this year. I ended up quartering that one up. So I do the drums, wings, and then I like to kind of spatchcock the at the
Yeah.
breastplate and just break it all the way open and then leave it flat, and then I'll vac seal it just like that, flat hole.
Hmm.
Now and some of the times we'll do like I say, breast it out if you want to do ground turkey. We do a lot of, instead of ground chicken, we do a lot of ground turkey. So which is a really good replacement. So yeah, I would do that, and we'll save the wings and the drums, and then basically I just bone everything else out, and then run that through the grinder, and then package that up. and then the kids
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, we want some turkey wings or some turkey legs," and I'm like, "Cool, go grab a pack out of the freezer, and that's what we'll do."
Let's
But yeah,
go.
we do that. But we the kids, I don't remember how long ago it was, but yeah, the first time we fried a turkey, the kids were like, "Yeah, we don't want it any other way, but that way now." They're like, "We like that."
They
So
got
yeah,
spoiled.
yeah, they got spoiled. So yeah, so we I get every once in a while I'll my brother's got a really nice smoker, and so I was like, well, we can take him when he smokes a turkey, it's delicious,
Oh yeah.
um, fried, and then even for the kids, we'll make little turkey nuggets.
Yep.
Um, so they love those. It's like eating chicken nuggets. For them, it's great. They cook real good. They cook fast. Easy to bread.
Yep.
Uh, delicious. I don't know. Yeah,
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, turkey nuggets is a staple, man. If I ever get a turkey,
yeah,
it's almost always that's where the whole breast and legs and thighs come in. The
yes,
legs and thighs I'll smoke them. I'll do some different things with them. Sometimes I've cut them up and ground them and pulled the meat off and ground it.
hmm
But as far as the breast goes, it's the breast turns into nuggets all 100% of the
oh
time.
yeah,
Like
oh
I've
yeah,
done it once in Virginia. I did. I like brined it for the first time, like brined
yeah,
the thighs, legs, and the breasts.
nice.
And dude, that like I don't know what I did that time, but it was like a one of a kind, just turned out freaking phenomenal. Like it tasted like a store-bought turkey. Like, and not that
Yeah,
like I don't like turkey's turkey in my opinion, but like that one was just like serve it to anybody, dude. They're gonna love it. I
oh
was like,
yeah,
dang. Yeah,
hundred
so I
percent.
don't again, I don't know what I did. I did everything super low and slow. I remember that, and I had a brine
Yep.
on it with like some more of like an Italian style kind of a brine.
Yeah.
Um, and that was good. But yeah, I think I hadn't even thought about on turkeys, which it's been a minute since I've got one. But yeah, spatchcocking it might not be a bad idea.
Yep.
Everything in Montana did a lot more upland game bird hunting than I would have thought I would have
Yeah.
done, and pheasant and grouse and all that good stuff. Man, I
Yep.
got to the point. It's all I did with them. It's just you keep the whole bird, kind of like you said, I guess skin them
Yep.
right, and then
Yep.
you just cut them up the back, spatchcock them, and freeze them
Yep.
that way. Then you get to eat the
Absolutely.
whole bird off of it, and it's kind of nice. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, next turkey I get, I'll definitely have to do that. I haven't even thought about doing
Yeah.
it on something that big, but like you said, it's a space thing. So when you get
Yeah.
an 18-pound bird, it's a little bit different than a
Yeah.
grouse,
Yeah.
that's like the size of a squirrel. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We do that. Kind of quail, the same thing. I like them. I like to keep the quail whole.
yeah,
And people kind of give you like, what is that? I'm like, no, it's a quail. And they're like, it looks like a little mini turkey. And I'm like, I know,
it's a
it's cool,
robin,
right?
man. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm like, no, that's cool, right? So yeah, but quail is really good to do that way. But yeah, brining, that's I think that changed the game a lot, especially for the fried turkey.
yeah.
Um, you know, we do a lot of citrus in our brine.
Mhm.
So we do lots of oranges. And then we do thyme and oregano, which is really good.
Mhm.
And then just let it hang. Just let it hang, and oh, it's delicious.
It's so good, man.
I'm hungry
That's
now.
awesome. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, we got to stop talking. Okay, if we're gonna cut the podcast for a lunch break.
Right?
The
Like,
That's awesome. Well, I guess so. On uh, Texas has Rio turkeys, and so
yes.
what is I guess what's your well, no, you've been a couple places. You've been to the Pacific Northwest. Do you hunt any birds up
Yep.
there? And if you did, like, what's your difference on hunting a Texas Rio versus maybe hunting a different type of turkey if you got another experience?
Yeah. So they're definitely for me the meat you can definitely tell the difference because of their diet, right? It's
Yep.
the here we have lots everybody's got feeders out and corn, but the sage, the local grasses here, it's just a totally different taste to the turkey. Um, both I can't say anything bad about either one. We've hunted pheasant and grouse, the upland game birds, like ducks, geese, up in the Pacific Northwest, right? I mean that, and I've never had a bad experience. Um, you I will definitely say if you're going the light on the seasoning side and you get to taste that meat and you know kind of where the area that bird came from, right? You're not kind of trying to mask it with other stuff. But a lot of times I think that's what kind of turns people off too of the wild game too. It's like, oh, you can definitely tell, this bird was eating lots of corn or it was eating, lots of vegetation. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's mainly the bigger difference is when you see use the less seasonings or you don't brine the bird. Um, but yeah, that's probably the biggest difference. I think it's just habitat. And I
Yeah.
mean that's kind of expected, right? I mean, it's just
Yeah.
the different geographic areas where the animals come from. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
you're not going to get a whitetail in Texas and then a whitetail in Montana. I mean, they're going to taste completely different just because of their diet's different.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. And then yeah, like even the pronghorn situation we talked about earlier.
Oh yeah,
My first one was out of Wyoming, and it was
yeah,
just nothing but sage country. I mean, for hundreds and
yes,
hundreds of miles out there, right?
yep,
That's literally all they do.
yep,
And I couldn't. But the interesting part was, and a lot of guys said, if you're going to hunt a pronghorn, Montana is a good place to be because a lot of times they're on wheat fields, so they're
oh,
eating
okay,
wheat pretty much, their whole life. There's
right,
parts of the state where they'll have grass and sage and that kind of things, but a
right,
lot of places in that kind of central Montana corridor, it's a huge
okay,
wheat country. Um, but we hunted I get multiple antelope out of Wyoming and multiple antelope out of Montana, and side by side, I honestly, maybe if I ate it side by side, I might be able to tell. But that
right,
one, you couldn't really tell because that's what everybody would say is that it's got a huge sage flavor to it. But
yeah,
I will say hunting deer for sure on a deer, like maybe the bigger
oh yeah,
game makes a difference. I'm not sure. But a deer, you can absolutely tell the difference of where it was and what it was eating and all that good stuff too. So,
yeah,
but yeah, on turkey, like you said, you're 100% depends if you got them on a feeder or if you're in Iowa and all they're eating is
yep,
corn or maybe there's another place and they're living more in grass country, they're eating more bugs and different. I mean,
yep,
depending on where that turkey's at, his diet is mind-blowingly different and they're a lot
yes,
smaller animal too. So, right, whatever they're eating is exactly they're not cycling it through their body. They're packing it on.
yep, yep.
That,
That's the thing is everything needs to eat and
yep.
turkeys are on the list of the predators, and they're chasing running around trying to eat whatever they can. So
Like a little dinosaur, man. They're
yeah,
after it.
little dinosaurs. Yep, yep. That's what we call our chickens. Little tiny dinosaurs.
100%, dude. What's
Yeah.
so what if you had to give someone one tip, they're coming to Texas for the first time, they're going to
Mhm.
hunt a Texas Rio, what would be one piece of advice you'd give them?
Um, Patience. Don't be quick to chase after a bird. You know, yeah, it's always fun to spot and stalk that bird, but I'm telling you, back to the predators and everything's hungry. These turkey down here, especially in South Texas, man, we've got bobcats, coyotes, we've got random dogs running around. I mean, it's everything wants to eat a turkey. It's kind of
Yeah.
like quail. Everything wants to eat a quail. They're delicious.
Yep.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to eat one? But yeah, just patience. Let that bird work. Let that bird come into you. And if you have the opportunity, your wind's right, your ground's right, you got good cover. Absolutely, go chase after that bird. But you don't want to scare him off either and be next thing you know, you look up and you've hiked 5 miles down, down the road and instead of, being able to harvest that animal. But yeah, just patience, patience.
Yeah, I love that, man. There's got to be something to it because a lot of the guys, even up here in like this, there's like a Central Texas turkey hunters community here
Yep.
on Facebook and stuff. And I know the guy that runs the page, retired Army out of Fort Hood here, and um, I went to a couple seminars, dude, and the amount of time they spent talking about how many miles they put on every
Oh
year
yeah.
hunting turkeys, I was kind of surprised. And not so much that I know, like in Montana, Miriams they're just flat different. Like they live in big, broad, open country. There's usually not a lot
Mm,
of roost areas where they are, and they just wander. The
yeah.
exceptions are if there's ag, cattle. some reason that there's a lot of food around, they'll hang out in
Right.
those areas. If
Yeah.
they're in a river bottom or a river system or hill country or whatever, like good luck. I mean, it's literally just a
Yeah.
matter of the day. And if you happen to find the flock, great, but there's a good chance they won't be back in that spot for a week or 2 weeks.
Yep.
Um, but the with Texas, I was a little bit more surprised with all the roost opportunities they have. Generally there's some sort of a water system, even though it's dry country. You can
Hmm.
kind of figure out, okay, here's the closest water. Turkeys like to be roosted over water sometimes.
Yep.
It seemed like it would be a little bit more logical in my head of like where I would want to go on a map to find a turkey. But I was
Right.
really surprised at how much they emphasize the idea that, dude, you might just walk 7 miles in a day trying to figure out a turkey and hunt them and get them
Yep.
in. But the other thing was patience. Yeah, and
Yep.
that makes a ton of sense down here. Like you said, they don't have as much open country to where their eyes can
Yeah.
do a lot of the work for them. So from a
Yep.
predator perspective, they have to be on the lookout way more than other turkeys in other areas, I would think, because they can't just
Yeah.
get out in the middle of an and just kind of let their eye work for them, right? Like the
Yeah.
next bobcat could be around the next bush, and oh, by the way, that's 5 feet from me, So
Yep.
you never know. And
Yep.
then
I don't.
it's always windy here in Texas, so their ears are probably a little bit more on high alert.
Yes.
Just with there's always wind moving, trees rustling, grass moving, that kind of thing.
Yep.
But a bird, I think it's almost universal to turkey hunting. A bird will come find you if he knows you're there and he's interested in coming to find you.
Correct.
And I know that the general rule of thumb is the hens go find the toms, but
Yep.
after that hen in that area has found that tom, their brain goes, okay, where's that next hen at? Oh,
Yep.
I heard one over here by this area that I want to go check out anyway. Or like you
Yep.
said, you've got feed. He's got to eat. He's going to come back. He's going to try to eat. Just be patient. I love that. I think that's huge, and it probably saves you a lot of miles here in Texas too, because like you
Yes.
said, there is an opportunity for spot and stock. Covers in your advantage in a lot of cases,
Hmm.
but those birds are probably a little bit more wily to the whole just every little rock crunch. I imagine just
Oh
perks
yeah.
are like, I'm
Oh
going to
yeah.
go 20 yards this way now because I don't know what that was, but I don't want to find out the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yep.
mean, there's been times we just be kind of hanging out outside. We'll have a group of turkeys walking up, and we'll kind of watch them at the feeder, and it's kind of funny. We can be just having a full blown conversation, you know, 50 yards away from them, and they're fine. They'll come and eat, and you not even bother them. You turn around and you even glance in their direction, forget about it. They're out of here. They're out. They're gone. It's like, oh wait, they see me now. They're paying attention. We must leave.
Yeah, that's
So
funny.
yeah, it's hilarious. I don't know. We were it was a couple weeks ago. We were out literally pounding in a T-post in the ground over here next to the fence, and I hear a turkey, and I'm like, that's kind of weird. I'm making a lot of racket over here, and then I'm finished putting the T-post in, and I turn and look, and no joke, he's sitting right there at the feeder just munching away, and I turn and look, and then he looks at me and is like, all right, see you later. I'm out of here. You're paying attention now. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's
Yep.
crazy, and
Yep.
also infuriating at some points, because it's like, man, that turkey was just right there, and I tried to close the distance by like 20 yards, right? And it's like, nope, that turkey just put 100 yards different distance between me and him. It's just
They're-
crazy, but it's fun. That's why it's hunting, man. It's a sport. We love it.
Yep. But yeah, man, the question I wanted to ask you too is for Texas, like
Hmm.
in other states too, but Texas in general. I don't know if you ever watched a Texas hunting TV show that isn't either maybe it's spot and stock out in the West Texas area for an
Hmm.
aoudad and you're out in the mountains, whatever. But a lot of times there's a feeder in the situation, and you
Yes.
said that you're running like protein and stuff. So like in
Yes.
a lot of places, feeding animals or setting up a bait situation is like, hey, let's just toss a bunch of corn out there. But I know one of the things that just I hear over and over, and I don't know that a lot of people know that much about, is like there's probably more of a science to what you're feeding wildlife in Texas.
Hmm.
One, to supplement nutrition, especially in these high fence ranches. That was something I learned a lot about hunting with that other guy.
Yep.
But like, what's the what's the strat? Or there's maybe explain a little bit of like the strategy and kind of the thought process, and maybe even some of the science of like what the supplementation factor is behind the feed situation in Texas. Because part of it, I'm sure, is like you talked about it way early on in the podcast, dude. Like you're in mesquite country and
Yep.
where I'm at, like cedar trees everywhere. Like good
Yep.
luck finding an animal before it finds you, right? Like
Yeah.
we're at an extreme disadvantage of finding something in that kind of country anyway.
100%.
So there's an element of getting them to go in a spot where you can actually figure out what you're hunting and what's there and all
Yeah.
that good stuff. But then the side of me that was really interesting to me was like it's not like you're just tossing corn out there. It's
Yeah.
there's a whole regimen behind it. So maybe explain a little bit of
Yep.
that too.
Yeah, sure. So I know we've had in the past a lot of luck um, with using protein to help supplement the diet. Um, and you look at a lot of the South Texas, I'm like, you look at a South Texas deer compared to a Montana deer. I mean, it looks like, a little poodle compared to, a Great Dane.
Right.
Obviously we don't get the cold, harsh winters like they do in Montana, right? But, every once in a while it gets cold here for, a week or two.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Or, we get like sleet and rain and hail and all kinds of crazy stuff for like a month and, nobody has power. It's horrible. Yeah. But yeah, we've had a lot of luck with that. And, so the deer, I mean, I don't know the exact science behind how many miles they move a day, but I know it's an incredible range of what they move around. And they know where those feeders are. They know where those water sources are. And I think for us here, it's more about the fat and the protein content that they may not necessarily get from the shrub, the grass, eating on the mesquite. So I think it's helping them grow, helping them gain the pounds, and prepping for mating season, prepping for winter, and then that antler growth that fat and protein that they need for that antler growth, and for the mamas, they need that extra nutrition for the babies they're carrying, right? I mean, that's the next generation of the deer.
Yeah.
So whatever our mindset is, kind of like whatever we can do to help provide that animal the best nutrition that we can, that's what we want to do. Whether that's protein, it's corn, you put out a food plot, we put out water, we put out, salt blocks, protein blocks. I mean, every company has their, gimmick or flash that says, hey, use us, we're the best, this kind of stuff. But I'm really interested in the ingredients and what we're trying to feed that animal. Right. I don't want to be like, I don't know, I'll use a crazy example of, if the deer has a choice between a zebra cake and, a pile of protein, right? They're going to eat the protein.
Right.
Although I've seen them eat a zebra cake, so that may not be too far off. But yeah, my parents live up in close to New Braunfels, and the deer there are super overpopulated. You can literally put a bunch of corn in a can and shake it, and they'll all come running out of the trees and come eat it. It's ridiculous. But
Wow.
anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. TBD, I always say TBWD is done a good job about trapping the animals there and relocating them so that the population is decreased a little bit. But since you can't hunt, and most of it's like neighborhoods and stuff like that, so they don't want you hunting in there, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Right.
But yeah, so I think that's kind of our take on it. And but we just want to give them the best choice and the best food to help them live their day to day. It's like, would I, want to eat, a bowl of ramen? Not that I don't love ramen, but a bowl of ramen or a nice fat ribeye. I
Yeah.
mean, and for them, I think it's an effort thing also, right? Is it's like it takes, I don't know. Again, I don't know the science behind it, but how much forage do they have to eat to get enough protein, calories, and fat versus just going to a known feeder location where I can pick up protein, corn, or maybe some cottonseed. It's high in fat, high in protein. It's an easy thing. So
Yeah.
I think that has a lot to do with it also. And then, our one of our goals is every kind of feed station that we make is we also want to have water there, because right now water's huge deal in Texas, right? I mean, that's what everybody knows, but yeah, we want to make sure and provide a water source and make sure that they have water. That's one
Yeah.
thing we notice, like when the pond's full, I mean, we've got raccoons, bobcats, turkey, deer, everything's hitting that pond for water, everything. So I'm like, well, there you go. So
Yep. Yeah.
make sure they have it.
Water's
So
king out there, man, is the hot
yeah,
country like this for sure.
yes,
No,
yeah,
that's a good point you brought up too with the effort side of things. It's always interesting though, like, and I'm sure it's nutritional dependent, how that effort also plays into like what a deer will choose to do and not do, or a
yeah,
turkey or something else. Because
yep,
you get a lot of places like Maryland's a great example. Like you can have ag fields in Maryland, and it's not like if you drive around Iowa and once the crops are harvested, you can't drive past a cornfield and not see deer out in it.
right,
In Maryland, dude, like it was surprising to me. In Virginia, actually, it was the same way. So that East Coast, it was just different.
hmm,
Like you could drive by an ag field and maybe see a deer every now and then, but you're not going to like see a herd every single time
right,
like you do in Iowa. And
wow,
I always thought that was weird. And they're
yeah,
growing, similar. They're not growing the same crops all the time, but Maryland was a corn heavy state, so it was
right,
surprising to me. But the flip switch is that they have cover and just as much opportunity in the timber that grows out there with all the oaks
ah,
and all the
okay,
mass bearing trees that they have. It's insane how much mass gets dropped every year,
right,
aka insert squirrels here, right? But like
yeah,
um the deer eat just as much of that, if not more, year round
okay,
than they need the corn. Like the corn might provide them something in the winter when it's cold and kind of they've already
sure,
gone through the other food sources, but they're not going to go choose it out of just even out of they're not going to choose it out of necessity for sure, but
right,
they're also not going to choose it out of preference, which is interesting. Like they would rather
yeah,
eat the mast and stuff, which keeps them in the timber more and different things like that.
yep,
And it's not saying they won't go out in the fields, or maybe some of the does will be out there. Maybe they need a little bit more, high calories for fawning and things like that.
yep,
But yeah, it's kind of surprising how much they prefer certain food sources over just like a feed source. But now flip the script down here to Texas and um, you know, like browse is probably the best case scenario, in most
yeah,
cases where, like you said, there's just a convenience factor of like, oh man, I can get everything I need here, but I'm
right,
gonna have to work really hard in very hot country and a
yep,
lot of travel, a lot of calories expended to get calories and nutrients you need versus, maybe going to a feeder that's just like we've allowed it to have an
yep,
opportunity to get really everything they need in a spot versus something like
yeah.
acorns that can provide everything they need, right? So,
Yeah, yep, exactly. And I think too, I mean, the deer are smart, I mean, they know, like, walking around that much. I mean, every step that they take, every movement that they make, right, that puts them in danger. I mean, of
yep.
risk being spotted, right? So I think, I guess we say it is a convenience for them, right, to go to that feed station or, water station to get what they need. But I think too, at some point they've got to know, like, it's less risky for me to just go to this feed station than it is for me to try to walk 5 miles, right, and try to not get spotted by a predator or something else that's going to want to harm me, you know
Hmm.
than just going to that feed station, and like it's a one-stop shop. you know everything I
It
need is
is,
right
and
there.
for sure, and it's actually surprising too, because I think again going to that high fence scenario, like
Yep,
one of the things I thought was interesting is when I before I got a chance to go do that hunt, I had in my head like that feeder is going to be full of animals all day.
yeah,
It's not like they show up
yep,
when they need to eat and they get the hell out of there when they're done. Like they just
exactly,
and it didn't really matter the species that showed up. I mean, this ranch had a bunch of everything, right? So I got to see a bunch of cool animals and a mind blowing amount of deer. But it was actually the deer rotate through it, and it's not even
oh
like
yeah,
it's not like the herd shows up and the herd leaves. It's like no, you'll
right,
see 5 deer on it now. Those deer wander off after a few minutes. It's
yep,
surprising how quickly they get in and out. And
oh yeah,
then new deer show up, and then this big buck shows up, and he bails, and here comes two more big bucks, and it's just like they have this like cycle, but then you don't see them like the rest of the afternoon or evening,
yep,
and maybe they come later at night. But I think just to your point though, um, it's not like because I was the argument I guess would be is that the feeder maybe provides an easy opportunity for a predator, but not. I mean, they're just as weary about being out there as they are anywhere else, and they know they've
yeah,
got to there's a really good thing here, but that really good thing also presents a risk. And so
Yep.
I'm gonna get in and get out, and I'm not gonna hang out any longer than I need to. So,
Exactly.
for someone like looking for an easy opportunity over a feeder, you might see, and the animal might not even give you a shot while they're there. Like they might be
Yes.
front on the whole time, and they might literally flip a 180 and back
And
trail
just back
exactly
out.
where they
Yep.
came. And that's it. That's the one shot you had, and it was a 2 minute segment, and they never gave you a shot. So
Yep.
that was just interesting on the feeder situation because
It is.
it seems like to someone who hasn't seen it that it would just be this easy thing, and
Yeah.
it's far
It's
from.
really
It's
not.
actually
Yeah.
surprising how far
Yeah.
from easy it is. Yep.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. Because I mean, it's not like they just, forget everything that they've been taught about being cautious and, being careful. I mean, it's, yeah. Yeah, they're still wild animals, and they know they're not in a zoo, and they're not
Yeah.
not protected and not guaranteed a meal. So yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
No, that's
I've
awesome,
seen
man.
a lot of buzz about I guess baiting versus not baiting. There's I guess a whole argument to be made for it, but I mean, I don't know. I guess until they
Yeah.
tell us to stop, I'm gonna keep feeding them.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Well, like I said, I mean, and the odds of seeing a whitetail in Texas brush country
Yeah.
with a bait station and not a bait station, it's not a guaranteed thing because you have a bait station, but the odds of seeing
Yes.
something, even just getting eyes on a deer, is
Yeah.
exponentially higher if you have a reason for that
Yes.
deer to want to be
Yeah.
there.
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
and yeah, you're at an extreme disadvantage as a person, especially if you're sitting still. Like you would have to spot and stalk out here, and you're
Yeah.
not going to spot. You're going to wander upon an animal, and you're going
Oh
to have
yeah.
to surprise it. Like there's just no way
Yeah.
that you're going to see it from a
Yeah.
long ways off and work in, especially where you live and we're Central Texas here.
Oh yeah.
Um, Good. I mean, and they have the extreme advantage. It's like when I hunted Maryland, even for the first time. If you're doing public land hunting in Maryland, excuse me, Virginia, the amount of holly trees that they have. Holly trees are
Oh
your
yeah.
extreme like equalizer because where they start like foliage is right at your chest. So if you're walking eye level, like you don't see anything. And guess how tall that deer is in Virginia?
Yep.
Way under that foliage line. And guess what?
Yep.
He sees coming a hell of a lot longer than you ever
Yeah.
get a chance. You'll never know he's there. They'll
Yeah.
get
Be
out of
like,
there. So
that looks funny. I think I'm gonna run away now.
exactly, exactly. You'll be a much better spot and stock squirrel hunter anywhere than you will be a
Yeah.
deer hunter for the most part.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. Well, one thing before I let you go,
You bet.
that we ask every single guest that comes on the Prayin and Slayin podcast is, we want to make people better. So tell us something that the world needs to hear. Tell us something good, in the words of Ben Slocum, that the world needs to hear more of to be a better place.
Be kind.
Be kind.
Just be kind. Be kind to people. Everybody's going through something, man. Everybody's going through something. Just be kind.
I love it. No, I think you're yeah, super simple words, dude. But
Yep.
yeah, if there's nothing else to be said, I think that's about as simple as you can make it, man. And I
It
love that you said
is.
everybody's going through something too, because that's the reality. I think we all forget is it's easy to think. Quick example, like my wife just called me the other day about some bad customer service she got at this at I can't remember where the hell it was. Anyway, I won't name drop the place, I guess. But anyway, bad some a little bit of bad, or is that an airline? I guess she was taking a flight going to DC. So one of the airline
Right.
attendants just for some reason decided to give her a little bit more tone when she asked a simple question, and she was like, "You just taken back," and had to navigate that. But like the
Right.
reality is that person probably doesn't do that every day.
Yep.
There's more than likely a backstory of that exact situation, that exact nuance that just happened to make it this rough thing. But and there's well, the Bible tells us too that you'll never go through something yourself that isn't very common for any person to possibly go through. So the
100%.
reality is if someone's having a bad day, or even if you're having a bad day, man, just being kind can go a long way, because whatever you're going through, or whatever that person that maybe you don't want to be so kind to for whatever reason or another, they're probably going through something that's extremely similar to what you've gone through before. So you could
Yep.
actually relate to them just by leveling with them, and just maybe being that kind factor in their day that maybe turns it around for them.
Absolutely. Like we said, it's a small world.
Yep.
Just be kind to one another, man. The world would
Yep.
be
If
a
you would have
lot
been
better
mad at
place
that,
for it.
if you would have been mad at that pretty girl in Oregon that
Right? It
decided
would
to
have.
take your
Yeah.
parking spot in the apartment complex, man, you
Where
wouldn't be
where
married
would I be
today.
now? I mean, who knows? Who knows? So
Exactly right, dude.
yeah.
No, I love it, man. Be kind, dude, and yeah,
Yep.
and Awesome, dude. Well, thank you so much, man. I
You
appreciate
bet.
having you on. I'll let you get back to
Yeah.
the Slocum farmstead and
Thanks for
hammering
having me.
fence posts or whatever you got going on today, brother.
You
And
bet.
yeah, really
Thanks for
appreciate
having me
everything,
on. I
dude. And
appreciate it.
100%, dude. And next time I don't care if it's a rainy day turkey or whatever you get next, man. Be sure to
Right.
send it over and the Prayin and
Absolutely.
Slayin community, and we'll get you back on to tell another story.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Happy to.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you later. Have a good one.
All right, buddy. Later.
We'll see ya.
Later.
Well, there you have it, guys. That was Benjamin Slocum, my buddy from down in Texas, man. And it's pretty neat how, one of the whole things with this podcast, obviously, is to share some cool hunting stories because I'm a hunter and love the outdoors lifestyle. But man, I know there's a huge community of people out there, and I've had the blessing over a pretty good extended period of time here to meet so many people from around this industry, specifically customers, people that work in it, you name it. And man, we all end up having a hell of a lot more in common. It's almost comparable to like that military brotherhood. If you can break the ice in the fact that we like hunting, you're going to find out you have a lot more in common than just that, because it automatically breaks the ice and you jump into these conversations. And it's so fun doing this podcast with guys like Ben. And I really loved how there's some really cool overlaps in kind of what he had going on. Number one, he grew up in Belton. I just had a chance to experience that firsthand. Belton, Texas, one of our favorite places to go check out, hang out. When we were living in the Fort Hood area, so he grew up there. And then the fact that he lived in Hutto for a little bit, like Hutto is it's getting more popular because Austin is growing like absolute wildfire over the last several years here. But Hutto, Texas is where my little brother lives, man. So I spent a ton of time down there, and we've traveled down there and spent some time down there when we were in Texas. And just always neat seeing how these stories overlap, how all of our stories overlap, and how much we have in common. And Ben is such a cool dude, man. Gosh, you just meet him in person. He's one of the most like genuine, just humble dudes I've ever met in my life. And if you've met him for 2 minutes, I think you've met exactly who he has been his whole life. And it's pretty neat to see. And man, I hope you guys had as much fun as I did connecting with Ben. And his something good that he left us with was be kind to people, because everyone's going through something. You never really know. And the verse that reminds me of is actually the beginning here of 1 Peter 3, 1 Peter 3:8. Finally, all of you should be of one mind. Sympathize with each other. Love each other as brothers and sisters. Be tenderhearted and keep a humble attitude. I just think when you meet Ben, man, he exemplifies that verse so much. And being kind to people, he's a natural at it, and a good example of how to walk into a room and just meet people where they are just by being a kind person, man. And people can feel that. That's something I've just recognized in my life too, is when you walk in with a genuine heart, or someone else walks into your room with a genuine heart, you can absolutely read it among all the other voices and opinions and personalities that are out there. And it's such a good thing, because you do never really know what someone's going through. And when you walk in with that kind, humble, hey, nice to see you attitude, man, it can be just what someone needs, maybe to open up or get through what they're going through, or just remember there's something good out there around them, and give them that next step to hopefully getting through whatever they're going through. And you know what, not everything has to be bad either, right? Just being a good person attracts good people to you, and that's awesome. And a lot of great things God can do through that. So man, Ben, thank you so much, brother, for coming on the podcast. It was so much fun learning about the Slocum farmstead, dude. You're living the American dream. You're living my dream and my wife's dream. Post-military, man. Hobby farm, Operation Hobby Farm will kick in full force. I think she's got her entire list of animals locked in that we're going to have, and it was fun hearing about that. So guys, go check out Slocum Farmstead for other things too. And I will absolutely, never thought I would put this on my list, but I am absolutely going to be finding some goat meat and making burrito out of it. After talking with Ben, he pushed me to the edge of that. Burrito was absolutely one of my favorite things in the world. Especially down at some of the local places in Texas, man, they do it right. But if you haven't had burrito tacos, go get them. If you haven't had goat burrito tacos, go find some. I know I will. So with that, guys, thank you so much for tuning in again to the Prayin and Slayin podcast. Be sure to go support our partners, man. You guys have been crushing it with Dead Nuts Outdoors, our primary title sponsor of the Prayin and Slayin network and this podcast. Lots of targets getting out there using the code Prayin10 to save their 10%, and it's awesome. And we launched that new conservation series with those guys, and those targets are crushing it. A lot of you guys using the Prayin10 supporters of this podcast are using their code to get their conservation series, and Dead Nuts actually sponsors your membership to the organization when you get those targets. So man, we love seeing it, guys. You guys are supporting our License to Kill initiative. Every time you buy a target or a puck or a knee bag with the code Prayin10, you guys are supporting the License to Kill initiative, which sponsors veteran hunting and fishing licenses across the country. So it's super cool. We're going to be able to do so much amazing things through that, sponsor more veterans this year because of it, and we have you guys to thank. So with that, guys, I'm going to let you get back to it. Go do something nice to somebody. Be kind to everyone, because you never know what someone's going through, and keep praying and slaying.